Okay. Adam's back in. Hopefully Connor will come back into wherever Connor went to. All right, so I'm going to go through some of the point things. I scribbled this out. I mean, like how we're earning points. I'm going to go through that today to begin with. And I scribbled out a little bit. It's really rough right now, okay, because I've done it between meetings. I've been up since about 5:30. I saw my husband for the first time. We've been in the same house all day at 3:45. So it's just been one of those days. Mondays are the super busy day as far as all of us go. 3 out of the 6 of us in the house have had to have been on meetings at some point today. So yeah, that's about what it's like. So it's just, that's the way it is right now. Mondays are bad. It gets better throughout the week. One of the questions that came up for my BC students out there, okay? We all love you AB students, but the BC have a little bit different topics on their test. So there's going to be a few times that we're going to do meetings, and I'll do an AB meeting for everybody, and then I'll do a BC meeting like after, okay? Or we'll schedule another time during the same day for a BC meeting. So BC students, what I really want you to do this week is get caught up on last week's College Board videos and anything from this week, and we'll do like a question session, and we'll be smaller so we can probably take our microphones off and hopefully have more of a discussion, okay? So that's the plan, and my days lighten up a little bit more Thursday and Friday, but there's a certain little girl whose birthday is Thursday, so we're going to have to deal with that too, okay? So.
Can I write in the comments who it is?
No, I think they'll probably figure it out.
Okay.
All right. Madison's smiling. She knows who it is. Okay. So then the other thing I want to talk about is how I'm scoring points. Okay. Ariel says happy birthday. You know Ariel.
I do.
She was in plays with you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi. I apparently know you.
All right. They all know you. It's like you're famous. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Mickey says happy birthday.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll have to turn our microphones off on Thursday and whatchamacallit, and sing. Okay. All right. I'm going to present my screen. Okay. Oh, it said Maribel says that there's going to be a VR party on Thursday. So.
Nice.
Okay.
Miss Reller's doing that too.
Mrs. Reller's doing that too. We'll have to fit it into Ellie's actual schedule, because she's got a schedule right now. All right, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to present. I hit the wrong button. Okay, so this is kind of what I have laid out, and this could get adjusted for how I'm going to do enrichment points, okay? So I have not, and I'm sorry, I have not updated grades up to this point. I got the Algebra 2 trig stuff done. Theirs just got kind of shoved in front of yours. I'm sorry. Normally I do you guys first. But tonight and tomorrow I will be working through your grades, okay? So which means if you haven't snuck homework in there yet, you probably still have a few hours to do that. The College Board sessions that were prior to 413, I'm taking those. You can still watch them, okay? You can still take notes on them. They don't have to be the printed notes. You can, yeah. And I apologize. Those of you who are in second period, I keep accidentally emailing the wrong class. I keep accidentally emailing second period instead of first period. So the poor first period children are not getting to know that they have a retest tomorrow. So I'm sorry. If you get something about a retest, it's for Algebra 2 trig. Okay. Shh. So if it was a College Board session prior to 413, those are going to be homework points. And this is how I'm going to put them in. If you took the notes and you took the bare minimum of notes that you just copied down what they wrote, you're going to get 30 points, okay, as long as I see that, okay? For completing the examples that they skip, because I know I've watched some of them, I'm starting to watch them all from here on in, you get 50 points total if you get through all those skipped examples. You do not have to do them on the printed note pages. I honestly think for the AB sessions, the note pages are kind of restricting. There isn't enough space to write on them, okay? At least the ones I've seen this last week, okay? And those are going to go towards the homework category, because that's where we needed the points. We needed points in homework up to that point. After 413, so starting last Monday's notes from there, it's going to be 30 for taking the notes again, and 50 for completing the skipped examples. Those are going to go towards the test category from here through May 1st, okay? May 1st, I believe, is their end date to those. And then we've got, about 10 days after that to study together. There's still February break extra credit out there. I still take it. That I don't remember how many points it was towards tests, but it's out there. It's posted there. I was doing this quick, so I didn't go look it up. So that's going to go towards tests. So here's how I'm going to break down the points for attending the live sessions. I know not everybody can attend the live sessions. Some of us work, and it's out there, so it's working. Some of us have to work, and some of us can come, and some of us can't at all the times I do it. I'm going to kind of vary the times a little bit. I'm mostly going to be in afternoons and evenings. This week, it'll probably be in the 3 or 4 o'clock hour. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to put it at 3:30 or 4, okay? And then I will hopefully have a schedule out for the rest of the week after that. I have to be in with Algebra 2 Trig until at least 3 tomorrow, so I need you guys a little bit after that, so that I can, because they have to take their test tomorrow too. So attending the sessions, and the roll is going to be taken 2 to 3 times. Ellie's kind of my roll monitor, so hopefully she'll mark you off. And then we'll also kind of take roll a few other hidden ways, like playing games. So make sure when you type your name into games that you type a name in there that I recognize so that I can use it to take roll, okay? And get you extra credit for those tests or those games. So that's going to be 10 points, and it'll go towards tests. Playing a game during the lives, or sometimes I might do another activity that's kind of like a game but kind of not, or have you answer a question here and there. I'm like more like a poll. I'm going to do 10 points for that. And that's going to be, and if we do play a game, I'll give whoever the top 5 are 5 extra points, okay? Towards tests, everything towards tests. And then taking notes during the lives can be done via video later. So if you have to do it later, at least you'll get some credit, and this will be some extra credit, or sorry, enrichment towards tests. And that's going to be 30 points towards tests. So that way everybody gets something. I prefer if you can get to the lives as much as you can, get to the lives, because I enjoy seeing your names pop up. We're up to 45 people. This is awesome. So I enjoy seeing your names pop up. And those of you who are brave enough to turn on your cameras, I love seeing your little faces. So I like the smiles. So any questions or concerns about enrichment points before I go on? You can either turn your microphone off and talk, or you can put it in the chat. We're going to do a Kahoot today.
Okay, for listening music.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do it, and you missed the Friday music too, Natalie. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get going. The last Kahoot I didn't count. We'll see. I'll go see if I can find my the grades on it. Maybe I'll throw some extra points in there for the ones last week. Okay. Oh wait, the one that Andy made, I'm not so sure if that one will count. It didn't really have to do with calculus. Maybe some homework points, some participation points towards notes. Maybe we need some notes points. All right. That one was a little bit crazy. All right, here we go. I'm going to flip this around. So you're going to see my ceiling. Are you seeing the messy bookcase that I haven't cleaned behind Ellie right now? So see, we all have a messy house. This is the cleanest place in the house. All right. We're going to go through 2014 number 4 first, and then we're going to do 2000, what did I say? Was it 12, number 3 maybe? I've lost my notes. This isn't good. There's part of it.
It's during quarantine.
All right. You have the peanut gallery help today. All right. Let's see. Do I have my work on this one? Oh, there it is. Okay. So I picked max-min problems today, which I think are for AB especially. I mean, BC, you guys should know how to do these. But AB, these should be fairly accessible for you. We did a really good job with this stuff. We really worked really hard on this in January. So I am looking at a picture like that. Anytime you see a picture with a graph like that, they can do a lot with this. So there's a lot they can test with this, and you'll see as we go through, there's not just maxes and mins. There's going to be, we're going to take, do some basic derivatives and integrals. We could do basic derivatives and integrals with this as well. So I'm reading from the paper. Hopefully you have that in front of you. I kind of put some notes on this board here. Okay. Let's see. All right. So we're going to say the function f is defined on a closed interval from -5 to 4. Okay. The graph of f consists of 3 line segments and is shown in the figure above. Let G equal, so we've got that G equals this right here, be the function defined by G of x equals the integral from -3 to x of f of t dt. This is valid for AB this year, so you can do this type of integration this year. So the first thing they want us to do is they want us to find G of 3. So to find G of 3, they told me they defined what G was right there. I'm going to plug into it. But remember that the 3 is going in for the x value. So I've got the integral from -3 to 3 of f of t dt. Okay. Well, I don't know what f of t is other than they tell me that this graph here is f. So I'm going to go to the graph and I'm going to go from -3 to 3. Okay. And we did a whole bunch of these pictures. Okay. So we're basically going to find this area right here, and that area shape is a triangle. And we're going to find this area right there. There's something special about this area underneath. What's special about that? Put it into the chat. Oh, it's number 3, not number 4. I'm sorry, typo. Hey, put it into the chat. What do I know about this area that's that little tiny triangle? There's something special about it. Type it into the chat if you know. There we go. We've got a few. It's negative. Good job. Okay, so we know that this has to be negative area because it's underneath the x-axis. Good job. All right, so I'm going to talk about the base of this triangle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4 high. And then we know that this area is negative. So either I could do plus a negative or I could just subtract it. This base of this triangle is 1 and its height is 2, or I could put -2 and take into account the negative there. It's up to you. All right, so we're going to do some simplifying here. Technically, this right here we could stop, but it happens that we actually need this value later on in the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and actually do the calculation because it's not too bad. So 2 goes into 4 twice, so that's 10. 2 goes there, so that we subtract, and we end up with an answer of 9. As far as, if I might have a sheet with the points on it. As far as points are concerned on this one, there it is. Okay, you basically only get 1 point on this one. This was a 1-pointer just for that answer. So again, that would get you the point. You would have to stop there, but you do need this 9 for later in the problem. Okay, I did, in my notes, I kept pasting the graph in there, and I very carefully recreated that graph for you. So that way I could keep drawing on it, okay? If you've been watching the College Board sessions, they were actually working on this stuff today. They did not show any sign charts. I really, really, really like the sign chart. Just remember, it can't be your reason. You actually have to do the sentence frame stuff for your reason, okay? So it's asking us in this one, on what open intervals. Notice it says the word open, meaning I don't have to worry about the brackets. And I heard them comment today that they're always going to do open intervals on the AP test. You don't need to worry about the open and the closed stuff. You can do it always open, okay? Delta Math was kind of crazy. They wanted the closed stuff. All right, so open intervals. They give us the interval for the whole interval. What is the graph of G is both increasing and concave down. So we need increasing and concave down, which means that we're going to do a double layer sign chart. If you are in BC, this is going to look a little differently than what I've done with you before. But I've come up with a new way, or I've borrowed a new way of doing this. Okay. So when we do our double layer sign chart, you need to record both the zeros on your sign chart. So the zeros and the horizontal tangents. Okay, so I'm not just going to I'm just not going to do just the zeros. I'm going to do the zeros. So the 1, 2 zeros and the 1, 2 horizontal tangents. In this case, there's only really 3 numbers. Okay, and then we also put our endpoints in there. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing my sign chart. Okay. So we've got I have G, oh, what else did I miss in there? There's something else I must have missed. They want to know when the graph of G is concave down. So it's G, not just F. And we know that F, we have to interpret something here. Up in this here, they tell us that G is equal to the integral of F. So what gets implied from that is that that the graph of F is the graph of G prime, actually. Because if I took the derivative of this, let me write that off to the side. The derivative of this, remember, if I took the derivative d of the integral, remember how we talked about those things canceling? So that means that the derivative is just equal to the function. So G prime is equal to F. You're going to see that a lot. Pretty much guaranteed that they'll never give you the graph of what you actually of the derivative that you actually need without doing that interpretation. Okay, so I'm doing my sign chart. I'm going to do my first row is going to be G prime, which is equal to F. My second row, because I'm doing a double layer one, is G double prime, which is equal to F prime. Okay. I'm going to start with my endpoint. So I know my endpoint was -5. And I'm sorry, I may have squished that too small. So my endpoint's -5. My first 0 and or horizontal tangent is -3. And I'm going to draw my fence. And then my next horizontal tangent or 0 is 0. If I was only doing first derivative, I wouldn't do the horizontal tangent, but we need both of them because we got to do increasing and concave down. And then my next 0 or horizontal tangent is at 2. And then finally, my last endpoint is 4. All right, so I'm now going to look at my graph, okay? And I'm going to first look at, for this row here, I need to know if the graph is above the axis or below the axis, okay? So from -5 to -3, I am above the axis, so it's positive, okay? From -3 to 0, I am still above the axis, so it's still positive. From 0 to 2, I am above the axis, so it's still positive. And then from 2 to 4, I'm below the x-axis, so it's now negative. All right, now I'm going to look at this. For this one, I need to look at if the function is increasing or decreasing, because remember, this is about looking at the slope of the original graph. Does it have a positive slope or a negative slope? So my graph starts going down first, so it's decreasing or negative. Then it's increasing, okay? Then it's decreasing there and decreasing again. All right. I'm going to go back to so I'm going to back to the question to make sure I'm answering the right thing. It says increasing concave down, which means I need positive in the first row and negative in the second row. So positive in the first row, negative in the second row is here. Oh boy, I don't know what happened. I just lost half my stuff. Not the important stuff, thank goodness. And then I hit a little button on my pen. And then positive in the first row, negative in the second row is there. So I know what the intervals are, but now I need to actually put it in a reason. So this is where our sentence frames are going to kind of come into play. So you need to kind of dig those out and make yourself a nice sheet on those. So G is increasing and concave down. On, and you can go ahead and list the intervals. Okay, so from -5 to -3, and they're open intervals. You can use a comma, you can use the word and, you can use the little union symbol, up to you. And between 0 and 2, because okay, we know that G prime equals F, and they said in the videos today that you don't necessarily have to write the of X part. You'll still get credit if you read it like that. So that was actually kind of interesting to find out. We know that is positive. Now there's another little catch, okay? Because what the information we're given is about G prime. we don't really know about G double prime. So when we make this next statement, we want to make it in terms of what we know about G prime. And they talked about this in the video today. So what we know is that G prime is also, it's not negative, but the negative represents that G prime is decreasing. So we would want to say that is positive and decreasing, which is a little bit of a change from what we may have said in class. Okay, but I want to make sure you're getting this 100% correct and set up right for the AP test. And then you'd want to say on these intervals. Okay. All right. Ooh, we're up to 46. All right, let's look at part C. Okay. So part C is a super, super tricky, sneaky way. I didn't have to do anything about maxes and mins, but they're asking me to find the derivative. And what rule? Type it into the chat. What rule do we need on part C? Everybody type it into the chat.
Follow mode.
There we go. Is Adam being bad? What's Adam doing? Do I have to look at the hand? Jared's here too. Adam, you can go to the restroom anytime you want. Because just don't take the computer in there with you and leave your microphone off, please. All right. You don't have to ask anymore. Isn't that nice? Okay. Somehow I still only get to go to the bathroom like once a day because I'm so busy. All right. So I'm going to go. So we need the quotient rule right here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do the quotient rule. Those of you that are in BC, you probably know Lodi High. Okay. I did it a little differently this year. Okay. So I need red, which I don't have apparently. I need a red pen. Add pencil, red. Okay. All right. So my red function is the top. My green function is the bottom. All right. So to do my derivative, h prime of x equals, all right, the derivative of the red is what we did first. So g prime of x times the green the way it is. And then we subtract. It's a subtraction operation. Okay. Then we keep the red the way it is. So g of x and the derivative of the green, which is 5, all over the green squared. I like this new pen better than what I was using at school. All right. I am going to go ahead and plug in the 3. Okay. If you've been watching the College Board videos, you've probably heard low D high minus high D low over low squared or low low. Okay. And that's fine to use. It's the same thing. They might have put our things in a little bit different order, but we all get the same result. This is the way that I taught you this year. Okay. So I need to plug in, I'm going to use the blue, a 3. So h prime of 3 equals g prime of 3 times 5 times 3 minus g of 3 times 5 over 5 times 3 squared. All right, so now I've got to figure out where this stuff is all coming from. Remember that this is the graph of f, which equals g prime. Well, if I need g prime of 3, I can just read that off the graph because this is the graph of g prime. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to trace that over, which is going to be a little bit harder digitally, which might mean they maybe do a table problem versus a graph problem. Who knows? Or their graph better be really clear. Okay, which means -2. And then 5 times 3 is 15. Minus, remember how I said we needed g of 3? G of 3 is actually hiding right up here in part A. Very rare do we need usually we have to, one part relies on another, but this is one of those cases. Okay, so 9 times 5 over 15 squared. Technically, you stop here. Okay, do not take it any further. I don't want you making arithmetic mistakes. You're under time pressure. You have to watch your own time because you're starting this yourself. You don't have an adult there helping you, okay, unless you can recruit mom or dad, okay? So let's make sure you stop there, okay? I'm going to go ahead and keep doing the work because I know some of us just need more work, okay? So in my numerator, I ended up with -75 over 225. I would not reduce that, but it is actually reduced -1/3. I didn't put the points in this last one, did I? Let me go back and do your points for you, okay? Sorry, my Zoom is kind of going crazy. All right, so in part B, you got a point for the answer, which was this technically right here. And you got a point for this whole reason. So the whole reasoning there. So which is really after the because sign, or after the because. On this one, you got a point for this, the H prime. And then you got a point for your answer right here. And again, nobody's going to simplify this here. Okay. All right. Last one here is that we had that, let's see if I can get it there. They got a function again. We have to find the slope of the tangent line. When I first started doing this problem, I read it as tangent line. Oh, I need an equation. I don't. I only need the slope. So if you've written the equation of the tangent line, you'd likely not get the points you were looking for. Okay. You need the slope of the tangent line at that point. Two things we need for a tangent line are a point and a slope. Okay. I have an x value. All right, so I'm going to calculate my point value first. I'm going to do that by substituting my 1 into my p. So f of 1 squared minus 1. So f of 0, right? Because 1 squared is 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is the graph of f, which is also the graph of g prime. I'm just going to read this value off the graph. So that's a 4. Okay, so I know I have the point 1, 4. And I don't really need that. Why did I do that, Mrs. Ballard? We don't need the point. We only need the slope. I was doing equation of tangent line. I shouldn't have been. In order to get the slope, I need to take the derivative. Okay? So p prime of x equals, oh, interesting. Something's going on there. Who recognizes what's going on here? What rule do I need? Put it in the chat. Uh-oh, we don't remember. Nobody remembers what rule we need? Let me give you a hint. Orange, okay, for those of us that are in AB, there might be a function that's inside a function. What rule do we need? Or is anyone, nobody's listening maybe. Still nobody. Is my microphone on?
Miss Ballard.
What?
We all typed it in the chat.
You did?
Everybody.
Oh my gosh! I have the chat like scrolled like halfway up the screen.
We all put
you.
chain.
We
It's
also
the
put
chain. It's the chain rule. Okay, so and I saw a couple you subs go in there. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, because I'm having those moments today. I did.
It made me feel like I didn't remember anything.
My microphone off today. So thank you for coming on, Cameron. Okay, it is the chain rule, and I see Natalie put U sub in there. You got to make sure that you know that chain, it looks like a U sub for derivative, okay? And U sub is the integration. Okay, so if you're in BC, the way I'm going to do this is a little differently than what I did with you. AB students are going to probably transition eventually to do it the way I do with the BC kids. If you're watching this on some of the College Board videos, they're not doing this the same way, but you're getting the same result, okay? So P of X equals, so I'm looking, my U part would be this X squared minus X. So I want to put du, but we used U prime when we did this. So U prime equals 2x minus 1, okay? Then we had our outer function. So our outer function, I'm just going to call it f for nothing. And it's going to kind of look weird because we called it f when we did notes in class. It's going to be f of u. And then when we take its derivative, it's f prime of u. So when I write this out for the derivative, remember I take the inside function, so the 2x minus 1, and I multiply it by the outside function with the u substituted in. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I have to plug in this -1. So p prime of -1. So we've got 2 times -1 minus 1 times f prime of -1 squared minus -1. All right. I've got -2 minus 1 would be -3. And then I have f prime of, it looks like 2. Let me make sure I'm checking my notes. Am I right? F prime of 2. So far, I'm doing okay. All right, I need to actually find this on the graph, but here's the catch, okay? This is the slope of the graph, not the actual graph, because this is the graph of F. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to look at the slope, okay? So I'm at 2, and I'm going to look at the slope of the line right here. I can either calculate it or I could just count it, okay? So my rise is -2 and my run is 1. So the answer for that is actually -2. So my slope overall would be 6. On this one, you could actually stop here. You do need to evaluate more because you can't leave it in terms of function notation. All right, let me do the points on this one real quick. So my points here, I get 2 points for this derivative because it had the chain rule in it, so probably a point for each part, okay? And then you got 1 point for the answer.
Wait,
all right, I'll leave it there a couple seconds. Are there any questions?
Miss Ballard, how'd you get F prime of 2?
How did I get F prime of 2? This here, the green?
Yeah, because wouldn't it be F prime of 0?
-1 squared is 1, plus a -1 is 1. So +1 is 2.
Oh, because I had a -1. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, there was a double negative that showed up there.
Oh, okay.
That was Michaela, right?
Yeah.
I recognize your voice.
Oh,
okay. All right. Any other questions on that one at all? Any parts of it? And you guys stop me at the end of the parts. I've been not asking about questions on each part, but if you've got a question in the part, take your microphone off and just ask me. Okay, it's okay. All right. I'm going to move on to the next one so we make sure we've got time. Or do we need a Kahoot break? Do we want to power through the next one or do we want Kahoot now?
No, we're good. We can go to the next one.
Go to the next one. I have one person to answer. I can't see that the chat's not coming up. All right. Because I have the chat going on the other machine. Okay, we're going to keep going then. All right, 2012, number 3. I did the best I could to recreate that picture. This is supposed to be a half circle down here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to read the problem. Let F be continuous from the function defined from -4 to 3, whose graph consisting of 3 line segments and a semicircle centered at the origin is given above. Let G be the function defined by this. Okay, so immediately when I see that, whenever I see that notation, we've had that notation on both of them. I notice my graph is F. If G equals the integral of F, that means that G prime is the same as F. And that kind of looks crazy. Okay, that G prime is the same as F. All right, so in part A, I am supposed to find G of 2 and G of -2. So I'm looking at it, I'm just going to substitute in. So I've got G of 2 is the integral from 1 to 2, because I have to plug in for the x part, of f of t dt. And G of -2 is 1 to -2 of f of t dt. All right, so I'm going to start with the 1 to 2 part. So 1 to 2 is just right there. And they got a little bit tricky on us. We just need that little tiny triangle that's right there. And I know mine doesn't look very triangular, but it is. You already told me earlier in the lesson that we know that that's going to be a negative area because it's underneath. The base of that triangle is 1. The height of that triangle is a little trickier. And they don't do this very often, but once in a while, it should be very clear that that height is 1/2. So the area of that one is -1/4. Okay. Again, it's under the x-axis. That's where the negative is coming from. All right. My other one here is going from 1, so I'm doing that in a different color, to -2. So first things first, these are not in the right order that we like. We need to flip it. So it's going to put a negative out in front. That's where a lot of people are going to make mistakes. All right, now I've got to look at my shapes. It looks like I've got a triangle and a semicircle, but that semicircle is going to have negative area. Okay, so I'm going to keep going long ways here. So my triangle's area I know is 1/2 base times height. My base is 1, my height is 1, 2, 3. 1, 3. Okay. Then I'm going to add that to, actually, I'm going to subtract it. Add it to a negative of this semicircle. So pi, my radius length is 1 squared, divided by a semicircle means I got to divide it by 2. That's it. Stop there. Don't go any further. For those of us that really are antsy about going further, it looks like that. Oh, what did I forget? I forgot the negative in front. So there should be a negative in front of this whole thing. Okay. So I need to carry this negative here. Okay. All right. The points on that part are just, let's see, where'd my point sheet go? Are 1 point for each one of them. So you got a point for solving this one and a point for solving this one. Okay, here we go. Now we need my graphs off to the side now, and again, f is the same as g prime. Okay, so now it wants g prime of -3. Well, we know that g prime we just talked about is the same as f of x. So if I need, that implies that g prime of 3 is the same as f of 3. Literally, all I'm doing is reading the point off the graph. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, and I'm reading this y value off the graph. So it is equal to, what happened? I went the wrong way. So I'm not getting, oh, I erased half my graph. I'm sorry. Let me put that back. 3, -1. Okay. And then I need to go back this way. So it was -3. 1, 2, 3. So my answer there is 2. Okay. Then I am looking at g double prime of -3. So that's a little bit different. That implies g double prime of x is the same as, I got to take the derivative of that, f prime of x, which again means that I'm looking at the slope. Okay. So g double prime of -3 means I'm really looking at f prime of -3, which means I need the slope here on the -3. So I'm going to go up 1 over 1. It looks like my slope is equal to 1. I can count it. If I don't trust the counting, I could also put this into the slope formula. So I could say 3 minus 1 over -2 minus -4, and I get 2 over 2, which is still 1. So either one of those can go in there. And on that one, it was also worth 2 points. 1 point for this and 1 point for that. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep on moving. We're already at part C. So this is our max-min part. All right. So find the x-coordinate when g has a horizontal tangent, or find the x-coordinate at each point at which the graph of g has a horizontal tangent line. Horizontal tangent lines we know would be when g prime is equal to 0. Okay, so remember, this is the graph of g prime. For each of these points, determine whether g has a relative minimum, relative maximum, or neither a maximum nor a minimum at the point. Justify your answer. So again, we're looking at doing a sign chart. And we're going to only do a single layer this time because we're only talking about maxes and mins. Okay. Since we already have the graph of g prime, we're only looking for the zeros this time. So I'm looking for this and this. We're not having to do the horizontal tangents. This is kind of tricky though, because you really want to do -2 and 0 and 1. But you're looking at the horizontal tangents is where the g prime equals 0 and you have the graph of g prime. Okay. So we actually want to make that statement that we understand this. That's really the first step of this problem, and it is actually worth points to write that down. So we're going to start by saying g prime of x equals f of x, and we know that that equals 0. That we basically just told the readers that we know that the horizontal tangent means that that's equal to 0. Okay. We know that happens in 2 places. The 2 places it happens at are at -1 and 1. So I'm going to put those numbers, or I'm going to put those values in my sign chart. So I'm looking at my sign chart for g prime, which equals f. So I'm starting with the endpoints of my interval. So -4, my first critical number is 1, or sorry, -1, and my second critical number is 1. And then my final value is 3. All right, I'm going to look again at whether it is above or below, okay? So from -4 to -1, it's above, so it's positive. From -1 to 1, it's below, so it's negative. And from 1 to 3, it's still below, so it's negative. We are supposed to be going, I'm going to go back to the question stem. I need to know if it's a relative max or relative min or neither. Well, so I'm going to draw my little arrows. I know I got a positive slope to a negative slope, and then a negative to a negative. So I know that nothing's going on there. This is a neither because it didn't change. This, because it made a hill, is a relative max. All right, so now we have to justify all of that. So we are going to say that G has a relative max, and really I should write out the word relative, at x equals -1, because G prime, which equals F, changes from positive to negative at this value. Some of you like the word there. That's also fun. All right, then G has neither a max or min, or relative max or min. Could you put relative in there? At x equals 1, because G prime, which equals F, doesn't change sign at this value. Okay, I'll give you a couple seconds to catch up. I think we've only got one more part today. Yay. Okay, let me do the points. The points on this one are, you got a point for writing this down. In fact, if you would put it kind of above that, that would have probably been better than putting it above your sign chart. They will not read a sign chart, basically. And then you got a point for each one of the or you got a point for identifying this and this. So that was 1 point together. And then you got a point for the 2 explanations. All right. Last one, okay. Now it's asking us to find, for -4 is less than x is less than 3, find all the values of x for which the graph of G has a point of inflection. Explain your reasoning. All right, so points of inflection come from the second derivative. We all know that. So remember, what we're looking at is, and I shouldn't have written F, I should have written G. We're looking at the first derivative, which means when we're examining this graph, we really need to look at slopes, or the increasing, decreasing versus above, below. So let's get out our sign chart, okay? So here we go. So I need to know what's going on with G prime, and which equals F, and then with, how does that translate to G double prime, which is the same as F prime. Okay, so this time I'm looking at horizontal tangents, not at zeros. So I know my endpoint was -4. My first fence is at -2. My next fence is at 0. And my next fence is at 1. And then my final endpoint is 3. All right, and I'm going to look at whether it is, I don't know why I'm drawing this row. I really don't need this row. I only need this row because I need to talk about it increasing or decreasing, but I know that F prime, or G prime, sorry, is increasing or decreasing. That looks terrible. G prime. All right, so I'm discussing whether G prime increases or decreases. So my first one, I am increasing, so that means that my second derivative is positive. I am decreasing all the way to 0, so that means my second derivative is negative. I am increasing again, so my second derivative is positive, and then I am decreasing, so my second derivative is negative. For points of inflection, so we would say, we know that this is concave up, concave down, concave down. We don't need that right now. We need to know where their points of inflection. So we just need the sign changes. So we need the 3 sign changes. So we would want to say that G has points of inflection at x equals -2, 0, and 1. It's okay to make a list like that because, and now we remember what we know about is G prime. We don't know anything about G double prime. We can't state it in terms of that. We have to state it in terms of G prime. So we're going to state it as G prime is changing from what was really going on was this, increasing to decreasing, increasing to decreasing, or decreasing to increasing at these values. All right. Trying to hit the chat button. It's not working. Anything in the chat, Ellie Bell, that I need to deal with? What is going on with Adam? Adam, do you realize that my daughter is watching the chat? Granted, she is in middle school. So be careful what you put in the chat. If it's not for young ears, it should not be there. All right, are there any questions on this? See, I do read the chat, just not constantly. Okay.
Miss Ballard, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not really about this, but like, you know, the study guide that you posted on Power School, I was wondering if like you'd be able to do videos on them because I watched the videos that you gave the source to, but I kind of really didn't understand it. So I don't know if you were able to do
study
it.
guide are you talking about on Power School?
The one with the FRQs that you just listed there that we could do.
Oh, that we could, so like how I gave you a plan on the study plan?
Yeah, I've been doing it, but like the video sometimes, like I circle some parts where I'm like confused as to why they got there.
Probably, it's a massive amount of different videos that I'd have to do. So here's the deal. I'm kind of picking them off as much as I can. What I would have everybody do is we will probably end up going through most of them at some point, Natalie. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm just probably not going to do them in any particular order that I had listed there. Is I would probably, if you can, next time you get to print, so you don't have to print every day when I list. I would print all the free response questions from 2019 back to, I don't know, at least 2012. If you just print those and you print all those pages, then when I say, hey, we're going to do this one, we're going to do this one, we're going to do this one, you can just pull it out and make yourself a little notebook. You know, I'm going to put mine in a nice little binder, hole punch it and put it in there, or in your spiral notebook, okay, or something like that. And then you can kind of know, hey, we've done that one, we still need to do this one. And then as we get down into that last week, we'll probably end up going through most of them, and I'll probably end up getting most of those questions answered. Okay? Does that make sense, Natalie?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And if one video doesn't work, just search. If you search the AP Calculus AB free response question 2012 number 3, more than one video is probably going to come up. And I kind of pick on 2 different guys, and sometimes they explain it and sometimes they don't. The math as a sport guy tends to be longer and kind of boring, but he tends to go into a little bit more detail than Turk's vids. Turk's vids just kind of runs through it, but I figured it was better than nothing. Okay?
Okay.
All right, let's do some Kahoots. All right, so everybody go to kahoot.it. Remember, I'm going to do this again just in case we need it. Let me go back into Meet, okay? And I forgot to do this at the beginning. I'm sorry. If you need to change your layout, that gets you my whole first screen. So make sure you have either the sidebar or the spotlight on. That's going to help you see this the most. I should have said that at the beginning. I'm sorry. All right. Who's ready? What do you think the topic is today?
Is it Ballard style?
No, I'm not going to do Ballard style today.
Man.
All right. So we're going to do some derivatives today. I don't know what you know what? I need to talk to you guys about a derivative really quick that I haven't whatchamacallit, gone over with AB. Yeah, that's because it might be in there. So just so you know, if you're an AB, I did notice this in a free response question I was looking at. I did not teach you all of the derivatives. I didn't teach you the a to the x derivative. I was assuming it wasn't going to be there, but then I saw it somewhere. It's the natural log of a times a to the x. So basically, I'm saying if it's 2 to the x, it's the natural log of 2 times 2 to the x. So write that down somewhere just in case that comes up in the, I'm not sure, I don't remember in my derivatives if it does. It probably does. There might be another one in there. I might have all the trig inverse ones in there on this one, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay? We'll do the best we can. All right, here we go. Gonna play classic. All right. No, we're not playing Disney Cahoots today. Make sure you can put a name in there that I can recognize, please. Because if you want your points, I need to be able to recognize your name. And if Cameron busts, you can take off your microphone.
Ah!
You got Ellie laughing.
I'm wearing earbuds.
Okay, we're at 41, we had 47. I gotta go get Andy because this is his favorite part of it. Oh, we're gonna get lots of visitors.
What did you just start?
Okay, here we go. We ready, people?
No.
I think this one is probably not a good idea. Sorry.
Hey, you have to be
No, did you get in? Okay. Did you take over?
second.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay.
Cameron, stop. No. Please, no.
That's fine. We're good. I just have to hit buttons. We're not doing any teaching anymore.
At least
All right,
nobody's
here we
in
go.
here
I'm
to be
gonna start.
distracted.
Hopefully you put in something appropriate. Okay. Derivative rules. I've got more big.
Cameron,
All
stop.
right, the derivative of x to the n. Oh, good, we're doing our preschool numbers. Oh, here comes another one. Okay.
I'm fourth.
All right. Looks like the BC. How are you guys?
Mark,
How is
Mark.
Ellie fourth?
Mark.
She's in sixth grade.
I clicked on the triangle.
Technically, I did teach her that when she was in kindergarten, and she took calculus when she was in my belly.
Oh
So-
yeah. Let's go.
All right, here we go.
Derivative.
Derivative of sine x. Triangle's your friend. Cosine x. Are you the one that got it wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Wrong. Oh no, you're not in the top 5.
All right. Derivative of the absolute value of x. So you guys might not know this one. We'll see who knows it. We did write it somewhere. I know we did it this year. It was a memorized one in AB. All right, let's see how we doing. Okay, this is a good idea to have. Oh, there were 2 answers for it. So you got to just have 50-50 shot. This would be a good reason to get a sheet where you need to write down all your derivatives. Okay, go in the front inside cover of your textbook and start writing them down. All right.
Whoa.
Oh,
Yeah.
Connor got knocked out of first place. Derivative, secant x.
I got these. Let's go, man.
Ah,
Okay, secant x, tangent x. Andy, are you memorizing these right now?
No.
No? Okay. All right.
Meta.
Oh, Mikey's going to run the Kahoot now. Derivative of cosecant of x. You dance.
Probably no.
You all dancing?
Oh,
All right, negative cosecant x, cotangent x.
Woo,
All right. Where are my BC students?
Okay.
All right, derivative of arctangent of x. BCs, they'll know this. Think so?
Yeah, I think
All right. 1 plus x. All right. F of x times g of x. There's an Dave, you want to put that. Sorry.
Oh,
I came backwards to the way we. Are we gonna dance?
I do it.
There we go. Good job.
You.
Is triangle your friend still? I thought we should put them in that one.
That's an E.
All right, derivative tangent x.
This.
Tangent. That's right, Davey. Tangent x.
I can't see. I can't see.
It's thinking that square. Relax.
What did I do?
It's not working.
All right, in square.
I can't go back.
Okay, hit next. All right. Okay, hit next again. There you go. All right. Derivative of arcsecant of x. This one's a little tougher. AB didn't probably learn this.
Is that?
It's being selective this year.
Oh, you didn't say it. Oh,
All right.
triangle.
More people got it right than expected. Some of us grabbed our books. All right. Hit next. Hit next.
Yeah.
Okay, square root of x. Davey's gonna do all kinds of things. All right, don't hit the buttons. Can you dance it? Yeah. Some good music there, isn't it?
Hey.
All right. Good
I'm
job.
behind Becky. You're behind
All right.
Becky? Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Connor's back to the top. Back to the top for Connor. All right.
You see?
Derivative cosine x. This should be fast. Yes, they should. Sine x. You got it?
Unexpectedly, most people. got it.
Okay. Here we go.
Connor's
Oh,
still
are you
taking
done?
his
You're not going to help me
lead
anymore?
with money.
All right. Oh, Mikey's going to go help Ellie.
Oh God.
The derivative of f of x over g of x.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm sorry, Natalie. They won't let you click anything. Try it off of your phone next time.
Oh. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Madison's on fire. But then.
All right.
Uncle Sex.
Arc cosine x. I'm sorry. This one. Good luck. Sorry, your Chromebooks are glitching. If you have a phone, I play off of that. All right. Next.
Woo, Connor.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
Cotangent of x.
yeah.
What do you think it is?
Like 1 million at least.
All right, negative cosecant squared. Oh, Ariel's back in it. All right. F of x, F of x. All right, that's the chain rule. That was going on with that. The inside times the derivative of the outside.
Lorenzo.
All right, derivative of arc sine. Everybody should know this one. This is one we need.
That's why
Camera's coming from the
he's in lead. Oh.
All right, Connor's in the lead.
Oh, I got it right.
Oh, Ellie got it right.
Yay.
Cool. All right, derivative of natural log of x. This one should be quick. Quick, Davey says quick. Okay.
Practice said everything.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do that part. I moved it on. I apologize. Arc cotangent of x. All right.
Connor's still up by like 200.
Okay, e to the x.
200,000 I have every
E to the x. Good job. Who got that wrong? Oh, derivative of the inverse. It's been a while since we've done this one. Good luck. I don't know if they'll to us this year, but it's good to make sure you've got it written down. Sad that one of the 8 was over. Okay. Yes.
I guess.
They did too, probably. All right, arc cosecant of x. Last one.
Wait.
Yeah, okay, you ready? Who's the winner, Davey? You're the winner? I think you are. Third place.
Yay.
Okay, who was the winner, Davey? Connor, and who were our fourth and fifth? Lorenzo and Gabriella. Good job. Okay. I am going to go back here. Turn off the Kahoot. That's annoying music.
Yeah, that's annoying.
We've got to go back to this guy here. All right, I'm going to turn off the presenting. All right.
I only got like 5 questions, right?
Thank you to everyone who's coming. Apparently the chat has gotten a little out of hand today. Blanca, do you have a question?
Hey, Miss Ballard, did you give us the points for the last question? Like the points we got or no? I don't remember.
I think so.
Okay. Just making sure.
I think I don't know if it would have changed the result. Remember, all you gotta do is participate. Okay, and you get your points for your extra credit. And you get your points for your extra credit.
Hey.
Oh, okay.
All right. Kiara, question.
Will we be doing this every day?
A variety of activities that we can do. It doesn't necessarily have to be Kahoot. Okay. Sound good? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Are you looking at the babies? All right. Okay. So we are going to see you guys tomorrow. Andy, what's your question? We'll see. Okay.
Can I choose the police?
All right. I think it's time to feed these guys dinner. So thank you. They are they're cute when they're not screaming. So, which I'm sure. Oh, they're waving bye. All right. All right. They're all waving bye. Okay. We will see you on Sunday. You want it because you got the kill.
No, Hemi. Oh my God. Why? Hey, who in here? All right, I see how it is.
Hey, we in here. We in here.
Hey.
Bro, what was Adam on?
Crack cocaine. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Oh, can you write?